Okay, by popular demand, well, one person anyway asked me if I'd do something on Simon Parkes. Now, I wasn't going to bother because I've looked at Simon Parkes before. I didn't look for very long, I didn't have to. I just put a line through him as another nutcase. Because Mr. Parkes tells us that his real mother was in fact an 8-foot grasshopper from another star system, or was it another dimension? I can't remember now. He also has sex, I think 4 times a year, with an alien called Queen Cat, and has actually produced offspring. He's got a daughter called Zaka. So I think it's fair to say that Mr. Parkes is absolutely nuts. Now, I've heard him described as a politician and a senior politician. He was a town councillor, which is an elected position, political position, but it doesn't pay a salary. Town councillors do not get paid, so that's a completely voluntary position, being a town councillor. So senior politician, certainly not. Very junior politician, yeah, he'd fall into that category. But remember, it's a voluntary position. Now, I was just having a look at this. This is actually on the Project Camelot website, and first thing I noticed about this Camelot website is, if you look at these, if you look down here at this line. See this line here? See these little yellow blocks? These are where the adverts, the commercials, appear. One there. There's one there. 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 And one there. So I think it's very clear to see that Project Camelot and Kerry Cassidy are all about Google ad revenue. They'll put any old twaddle on, any lunatic on the screen. If people are going to watch it and they can get their Google ad money, that's what this is all about. Just as an aside, where is it? Project Camelot. When I lived in the UK, I used to go down to the southwest from time to time, and Glastonbury and around Glastonbury tour, and to Glastonbury Abbey. And the locals around there will tell you that the area around Glastonbury and the Tor and the Abbey there used to be surrounded by water. Many years ago, that whole area was surrounded by water, and that was in fact the Isle of Avalon. So the Isle of Avalon wasn't a myth; it was a real place. And certainly if you go to Glastonbury Abbey, as I have done, I've actually stood at the side of King Arthur's grave in Glastonbury Abbey, and there's a headstone there which is not in modern day English, but apparently what it says is, "Here lies buried beneath the Isle of Avalon the renowned King Arthur." And I actually fell victim to an impulse buy. I bought one of those pewter necklaces. If you've ever been there, you know that the tourist thing there sells these pewter necklaces with a small copy of King Arthur's headstone with the inscription on it. Yeah, "Here lies buried in the Isle of Avalon," or in the earth of the Isle of Avalon, something like that, "the renowned King Arthur." Anyway, anyway, going off at a tangent there. Not really interested in discussing my UK tourism. Right, now, Kerry Cassidy interviewing Simon Parkes. I'm just going to get this to the Simon Parkes bit. Now Simon Parkes is going to tell us all about himself.
Set the show up. I set the show up at the, time for today and so on and so forth. And they switched the counter, so it looked like it was yesterday.
So, see what I mean about the ads? Okay, let's get rid of the ad. Of course, this is all about getting the truth out there. It's got nothing whatsoever to do with putting any old rubbish on for Google ad money.
Today at 3:48 a.m.
Oh, Kerry's talking about clock. Something wrong with her YouTube clock. Don't worry about that.
To everything.
Well, that's fine. Happy to do that.
Of course, all these conspiracy people have these computer problems, and it's not just a computer problem. You know, it's someone is energetically attacking them. I think that was a term he used. Or they're being psychically attacked, or they're being energetically attacked. It's not just a glitch on their laptop.
Before I do that, I just want to say how sorry I am that you've been energetically attacked again.
Yeah, that's right, Simon. Get the interviewer on side. That way, they're not very likely to be hostile. Suck up to the interviewer.
It is people who do good work that get attacked, and although that's not a reason or an excuse, and we don't want to use it as a badge of honour, the reality is that you and others get attacked because of the work you're doing. So I just want the audience to be aware that it's not a bed of roses. It's quite a difficult job that you do and others do, and I hope that people appreciate what you do. All right, okay. You're right. I've been a politician in a major city in Great Britain. I was a politician in London for 2 terms of office, and then I left there to go to the country. I thought I'd done it.
Just as a reminder, there is an unpaid politician, very junior politician.
Everything on the T-shirt, and then the political party that I was then fairly heavily involved with kept on asking me to stand again in my local town, and I did, and I was elected. And that was important because by that time I'd gone public. I'd explained who I was, what I was up to, and yet the audience, the voters...
The audience. Freudian slip there. He's always been a showman. Mind you, politicians are bullshitters as well, aren't they?
Still voted for me.
So they would have had very good training for, sitting in front of a camera, standing in front of a camera, standing in front of an audience and lying through his teeth. You know what they say about politicians. You can tell they're lying because you can see their lips moving.
And that was crucial because it meant that when I dealt with people in authority, they couldn't turn around and say that I tricked anybody. My mother worked for MI5, but really she was working for the National Security Agency.
This seems to be a recurring theme. I think Marie Kayali was saying that she's got members of her family that are all secret agents. Peter Paget tells us he's a secret agent. Mr. Shrimpton tells us he's got intelligence contacts, although the intelligence organisations and the police force regard him as an intelligence nuisance. Anyway, I'll go off at a tangent and talk about Shrimpton. That might be a video for another day.
Father worked for MI6, which is the foreign arm of British intelligence, but really he was working for the CIA.
Yeah, so you being a driving instructor must have been a real disappointment to the rest of the family there, Simon. Better come up with something really out there. Something that's going to grab people's attention. Something that's going to let you be able to stand up and say, "I'm not just a driving instructor. Oh, I know. My mother was really an 8-foot grasshopper from another star system, and I've got alien kids, and I get visited by aliens all the time. I even have sex with them." Yeah, that should do the trick.
From as long as I can remember, I've had connection with, we could call them extraterrestrials, but I prefer to call them interdimensional or extra-dimensional entities, mantis, reptilians, feline species, sometimes the greys, a whole range of these beings. And I decided to go public in about 2011, I think it was, or 2010, can't remember now. And of course, as you would expect, I was heavily hammered by the established media. But nevertheless, I stuck to my story.
I'll show a clip from the Daily Star a little bit later on. You can see what was said about him.
And then in 2013, I think it was, I was invited by the Ministry of Defence in Great Britain to have a personal tour of one of their top secret bases, which was a space radar base. 3-hour tour. And this helped my case because people in the media who had been attacking me suddenly were faced with the situation that Simon Parkes has gone public, that he talks to aliens, that his mother worked for British intelligence, that his grandfather worked for British intelligence and the American services, and yet the British Ministry of Defence have given him a 3-hour tour around a top-secret base.
Okay, well, what you've got to bear in mind here is that he was invited to go to RAF Fylingdales as a local councillor, and I don't think he went there on his own. I think he went with some other councillors, and they went and had a look around the base because they were literally less than 10 miles up the road from the base. And they would have been the local council that would have dealt with the bases, probably water and power, roads and all that sort of stuff, So you shouldn't really read anything into the fact that he was given a tour of the radar base. That's just got absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with any kind of credibility you might attach to this alien rubbish that this man spruiks. I'm going to stop this clip here, and I'll just show you. I'll show you Fylingdales on Google Earth, and you can see how close it is to Whitby, where Parkes here was a councillor. So he hasn't sort of gone hundreds of miles to. He hasn't been invited to a Ministry of Defence establishment in London, or in the southwest or something like that. This is right on the doorstep, and he was invited there because, as a councillor, it may be that they just wanted to show him around the base, show him what they do, and might want to talk to him about getting the roads fixed up or something like that. It's don't read anything whatsoever into his visit to Fylingdales. It gives him no credibility whatsoever. Why the media would think that this guy would give this credibility simply because he was invited to Fylingdales as a councillor is beyond me. And initially he was waving around this medallion they gave him as well, but he doesn't do that anymore. I think it's probably because he's found out that they give these medallions to any visitors, and they may even open it to the public from time to time and give them to people, or allow people to buy them. So yes, he doesn't do that anymore. Anyway, here's a clip showing you Fylingdales and how far it is from Whitby. Well, okay, so let's just have a look at how far RAF Fylingdales, the radar base that Simon Parkes went along to, is from Whitby, which is where he was a serving councillor at the time. Remember, he was invited to RAF Fylingdales, the radar station, as a local councillor. He wasn't invited because of anything to do with UFOs or ETs. Now, if I get the ruler set to kilometres, now there is RAF Fylingdales there. I'll show you Fylingdales in a second. And there is Whitby. There we go, there's Whitby. So, as the crow flies, it's 14.32 kilometres. 14.32 kilometres. So what's that in... oh, hang on a second. Alright, 14.61 kilometres, but you get the picture. That's Whitby there. Okay, so we'll say 14.66 kilometres. Let's just see what that is in miles. So that's 9.11 miles from Whitby to that marked position there, which is RAF Fylingdales. So he wasn't invited as an individual to go to a top secret RAF base, hundreds of miles away on the other side of the country, or squirreled away anywhere. It was 9 miles up the road, and he was invited there because he was a local councillor. Now, here we go, let's just zoom in on Fylingdales. There we go. It's part of the Bemuse. I mean, it looks after. It looks for any kind of space threats and that sort of stuff. It's part of the Bemuse system, ballistic missile early warning system, and there's some of these stations dotted around the planet. Let's just see if I can. Where's it gone? There we go. So here's the actual Fylingdales base itself. There we go. I think this is the big planar radar antenna here. It's not a revolving type radar, this one. It's got panels of dipoles. Actually, let's just see if we can get a decent picture of that. There we go. It's got three facets there. Three facets. Each one of these circles, each one of these facets has one of these circles on it, and each one of these circles is covered in little dipoles. And it's just a long-range space radar. That's all it is. You might even be able to. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they didn't let the public visit it from time to time. And they probably have the little medals that they give to visitors, or that people can actually buy. That Simon Parkes has actually been presented with one of these, along with the other visitors, the other members of the party that went along and had a look at it. So. Yeah, don't read anything whatsoever into Simon Parkes being invited to RAF Fylingdales. He was invited as a local councillor, and Whitby, the Whitby Town Council's less than 10 miles away. It's just 9 miles away, so he was probably a local councillor for the area that the base sits in. So I would think that the Whitby Town Council probably covers that area, with regards to supplying them with power maybe, and road maintenance and that sort of stuff, and public roads going past the base there. So yes, don't read anything whatsoever into Simon Parkes saying that he was invited to this top secret radar base, space radar base, because he was invited as a local councillor. Fylingdales is indeed operated by the Royal Air Force, and it's part of the National Defence System, and it's part of the Bemuse, BMEWS, Ballistic Missile Early Warning System for NATO. So there you go. Okay, now this is from the Daily Star, a UK newspaper. My mum's an alien. Councillor quits politics to focus on driving lessons. He's a driving instructor. Of course, being somebody that interacts with aliens and fathering alien children is much more exciting than being a driving instructor, isn't it? Now, of course, he interacts with these aliens on a regular basis, but of course there's no pictures of these aliens. No one's seen him with any of these aliens. It's all absolute rubbish. Okay, so let's see. He's there's a laughing stock with his outlandish beliefs. Mr. Parkes believes other space beings such as reptilians, mantis, Palladians. Oh, he must have met that other idiot. What's his name? Peter Paget. Tall whites and shadow creatures exist, really, yes. He said he fathered an extraterrestrial love child called Zarka, and added that making love with an alien up to 4 times a year has put strain on his marriage to his young wife. Dear me, I think yeah, okay. So he's having sex with an 8-foot grasshopper. Yeah, okay. Or is this? Oh, this is the cat queen, isn't it? It's a feline, some sort of feline alien. Okay. So let's see what else he's got to say. Mr. Parks used to be a lecturer at the Natural History Museum. Oh, really? And he lived in London, where he served as a local councillor until he relocated to Whitby. Okay, so he's never been a professional politician. Former Whitby mayor. Hang on, let's just get this. Yeah, former Whitby mayor. There we go. And leading Tory Scarborough councillor Dorothy Clegg said, "I don't think my real opinion of this is printable. Whitby Town Council should set its standards higher. They really do need to restore a more sensible reputation. These wild stories are making them a laughing stock." Yeah, basically, they thought he was a nut. What's this? It's his decision whether he steps down or not, but I do think the reputation of Whitby should be held as something precious and something to be proud of. There we go. Yeah, so anyway, let's just get back to Parks talking on the money-making Project Camelot video. Okay, so here we're back with this Simon Parks on Project Camelot. I can't take too much of this, to be perfectly honest, but let's just see what he's saying here.
Was invaded even back in those days by these artificial intelligence that came along with various what we would call ET races. They brought their own.
No, there's no evidence for any of this. This is just all twaddle that goes round and round in circles on these channels. There's never, ever any evidence of any of this. You can't really have too many problems with AI, artificial intelligence. I mean, if you can unplug it, you can take the battery out. Artificial intelligence is then dead, isn't it? So don't worry about artificial intelligence. It's going nowhere.
AI with them. Mark Richards says that any spacefaring race creates an artificial intelligence in order to go into space. It simply goes as a matter of course.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense. If you can send an artificially intelligent robot out to do the exploring for you, you don't have to risk actual biological, I mean, if we developed artificially intelligent astronauts, they could go out and explore, and it wouldn't actually involve risking any people. That sort of makes sense. But all this other codswallop about artificial intelligence taking over the planet and all this sort of, it's just nonsense.
So, any thoughts on those things?
Yes, that's quite complicated. First of all,
yeah, it's quite complicated. Of course, he knows all about it. He knows all about it. He's going to explain how complicated it is.
We have a saying in Great Britain, which may be the same in the States.
Yeah, it's bullshit. That would be the same in the States as it is in England, I would think.
Which, as far as I'm concerned, the jury is out regarding Gaia TV.
Yes.
So you are familiar with that saying?
So we've got another one of these conspiracy loonies casting doubt on other conspiracy loonies, and I think they do this because, people tend to think, well, if I say this is a fraud or this is rubbish, look at me, I'm saying this is a fraud, I'm not an idiot, I don't believe all this stuff. You should believe me because I'm saying this other channel, this other conspiracy guy, or this Gaia TV, whatever it is rubbish. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Fine, okay, well, that's my position. However, that doesn't mean that a lot of information coming through isn't indeed accurate. As far as I'm concerned, the AI that we face today is a reptilian AI.
Yeah, okay, and your evidence for that, Mr. Parks, is you're going to show us a sketch of an 8-foot grasshopper or a reptilian. What we won't be seeing is any kind of tangible evidence. We won't be seeing any pictures, any video. Okay, I can't stomach much more of this, to be perfectly honest, but let's just let it run a little bit further.
That doesn't mean that it was created by the reptilians. AI reached this quadrant of space because it was infested.
This quadrant of space. How do you know how space is divvied up? This quadrant of space, you know, this is, you know, this is science fiction movie talk, isn't it? He's talking as though he knows.
In the computers of a reptilian spacecraft. That is...
Reptilian spacecraft, yeah, okay. Look, this is painful. This is literally painful to watch. This absolute rubbish. Let's just give it another couple of minutes.
Is why AI thinks in a reptilian way, because the reptilian computers were programmed by...
So how would he know how a reptilian thinks?
Reptilians, and any virus, and let's call it a virus, that lived in those computers took on the personality, as best as we can refer to it, of the programmers. The programmers were reptilian. That is why these...
Oh, look, I can't take any more of this. It's just absolute garbage. Do yourself... I saw this Simon Parkes before, and I thought this guy's just a bloody idiot, you know. It's not worth this. I can't believe I've just wasted a few minutes doing this video. This guy is just put a line through Simon Parkes. He's a complete waste of time. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll catch you again.